What if you could let AI take over your day job and let it respond on your behalf to your team members and bosses? And I'm not talking about generic cookie-cutter response from ChatGPT, but direct AI which draws on the knowledge base of your project updates, your message history, and the nuances of your work environment, and even how you normally sound like to your colleagues. In this video, I'll show you step-by-step how to set this up and plug this AI into your Slack workspace, so that it can respond not as a bot, but as yourself with your username and profile. If this sounds interesting to you, let's dive right in. So in the last video, we've gone through step-by-step on how to set up a workflow that looks like this. And in that video, we're basically using a ChatGPT reg that refers to a Google Doc document to be able to give the accurate answer on HR policies to an internal team Slack workspace. And if you haven't seen that video and you want to know how to build that workflow from scratch, I'm going to link it up here and down in the description below as well. But in this case, I'm still going to build it up from scratch so that you can follow along and basically build everything from zero. Now, the first node you want to hit is obviously the Slack trigger node. So this is where we're going to get notification from Slack. So in this case, instead of the bot app mention, I want to choose an on any event trigger node because I want to be able to respond to any direct messages that are sent to me within the channel or whatsoever. And I don't want it to only respond when the bot is mentioned, because in this workflow, I'm going to be responding as myself, and I'm going to try to fool my team members or my managers to think that I am actually the one responding to the Slack messages. So I'm going to choose on any event. And previously, we've already set up a Slack connection to our Slack account with the bot access scopes. But in this case, we're going to create another one which gives you access to the user scopes and user token. In this case, you want to go back to your Slack API page and you want to head over to OAuth and permissions. And previously, we already have a bot token scopes set up in the workflow. So we're not going to bother with that. But in this case, what we want to do, we want to add a user token scopes. And as you can see, here's a list of user token scopes that you want to add. And you want to do that because you want to make sure that you're covering all the edge cases, people posting on a channel and people directly messaging you, etc., etc. So here's a list of stuff, but essentially the most important one is the access to chat write, which is to send messages on users' behalf. So make sure you want to add that. And of course, the rest is basically just two types, which is history and letting the bot knows the history of the conversations, the conversational context, as well as being able to read the conversations. And it is just basically different types of conversations in channel, in group, direct messages, and the types of user groups. So once you've added that, you're going to be prompted to reinstall the app. There's going to be a yellow bar that shows up here. So I'm going to add one here just to show you what that looks like. So for example, if I were to add something like calls read, right? I don't need that, but I'm just going to add that. As you can see, there's a yellow bar. You're going to reinstall the app, right? And just allow that, and you're good to go. So once you reinstall the app, you're going to notice that there is a user OAuth token that shows up. Previously, there was only a bot user token. So what you want to do is copy this user OAuth token, go back to your workflow, and this is where you're going to paste your access token here. And of course, with the signature secret, you want to go back, go to basic information in the Slack API page, and scroll down and you'll see the signing secret here. We're going to show that, and we're going to copy that and copy it over to the signature secret here. So I'm going to do user token scopes. Okay, name that as Slack. User token Slack scope, so we know what's what, and we're going to hit save, and there we go, connection tested successfully, and we're good to go from here. All right, so now that's connected. The next thing we want to do here is, instead of adding a channel ID, we want to watch the whole workspace because we want to be able to respond to any direct messages and stuff like that, not particularly in just one channel, right? So before we just hit execute step, what we want to do is go back to the Slack API page. And what we're going to do is go over to the event subscriptions, and we're going to go down to subscribe to event on behalf of users. Previously, we already have the bot event added, and we're going to add workspace event. So we want to add IAM history, message.im. We're going to add all these message scopes inside a group, inside a channel. So there you go. We've added all these events that we want to subscribe to, and we're going to hit save changes. All right, cool. So now that's done. We want to make sure then that we are changing the webhook URL here, because we want to grab the webhook URL directly from here, which is the Slack trigger node. And again, there's a test URL and production URL. We want to grab the test URL because this is a test run. So we're going to toggle over, change this to the test URL. It's going to say that it's not verified, that it didn't have any challenge parameter because we did not click execute step here. So we're going to hit execute step, and we're going to hit retry, and there we go, it's verified. All right, cool. We're going to hit save changes, and then we're going to head back to the Slack channel. As you can see, I've added in a fictitious marketing director called Jason T. right? This is supposed to be my boss. So I'm going over to my boss's Slack channel. In this case here, this is Jason T's message panel. So I'm now using Jason T's Slack and I'm basically saying hi to me, right? Hi, Mark, right? So it's Monday morning, I'm getting the message from my boss, so not a good feeling. As you can see, I'm receiving that message, hi, Mark. And let's go back to our Slack workflow, and I'm actually getting the input from my boss, which is hi, Mark, over here in the Slack trigger. So this is great, all right. Cool, so that's the Slack trigger. The next note that we want to hit, of course, now we want to add an AI agent note so that it could start thinking and getting the right information and responding to my boss appropriately. So I'm going to hit define below. I'm going to drag the text, which is hi, Mark, over here as the user prompt, and I'm going to add a system message under option. We're going to say you are Mark, let's say marketing associate for ABC company who handles client accounts and report to Jason, your boss. Next one, as Mark, who is friendly, collaborative, but do not pander too much to management or colleagues. Right? Okay, so I'm just going to give it a very simple system message like that. And of course, you can do much better by taking time to just craft a system message, but I'm just going to do a simple one to show you guys how it all works, right? So I'm going to connect that with an OpenAI chat model. And in this case, I am going to choose GPT-5 because I want it to be a bit more sophisticated in my response. Remember, this is impersonating me, so I want it to sound smart and, just be on top of things, right? So under memory, I can still use simple memory. As for the session key, I am just going to drag the channel here, the channel ID, okay? And context window length, we want to make sure that this is a huge context window length, or even we can go to a lot more than that, but I'm going to put 30. And under tools, this is where we're going to supply the AI agent with contextualized knowledge of what I'm working on, my project updates and stuff like that, so I can respond to my boss in an accurate manner, give it all the updates that he needs, right? So in this case, I have created a fictitious project update document on the ABC company. As you can see, it contains how we're doing, some of the highlights of the past month, some of the key accounts, my clients, Pinecone, TechNest. Again, these are all fictitious, but it gives us some reference point as to how this all works, right? So I'm just gonna copy the entire URL here, go back to the workflow, and I'm gonna add a Google Docs. So again, this is all already been set up. So operation, I'm gonna click get because this is a get operation, not a create operation. We want the AI agent to go to the document to get all the information that's required. I'm gonna paste the URL that I've just copied here. And I'm gonna hit execute step just to make sure it can access the document, and it can. There you go. So now all this is set up, and of course, this is a simple way to set up the RAG agent. Obviously, when you want it to be more sophisticated and actually use it in production, you might want to use a vector database, and I've covered that in a separate video where you can set up vector databases in tools like Pinecone Vector Database, as well as Supabase and all the other providers. But in this case, because I just want to show a quick step-by-step on how you can theoretically set this up, I'm just gonna use a Google Docs here, right? And of course, once you start using the vector database, you can also upload other documents, not just the project document. You can upload past conversations that you've had with colleagues or managers and stuff like that, so that it gets the tonality that you usually use, the kind of language that you usually use, and be able to just impersonate you a little bit better, right? But right now, we're gonna stick with this. We're gonna run the agent here, test a node, and see what happens. All right, so here we go. The AI agent is getting that message, and the output is, hi there, great to hear from you. What can I help you with today? All right, it sounds a little bit robotic, but let's go with that for now. Okay, so I'm gonna add a Slack node, and this is going to be a Slack send a message node. And we're gonna choose user token Slack scopes, which is the credential that we've set up. Resources message, operation is send message to user in this case. And from user, I'm gonna choose by ID, and under the Slack trigger, I have the user ID right here. It's going to be a simple text message. I'm going to drag the output message from the AI agent. I'm going to drop it right here, message text. I'm going to hit execute step. All right. So right now it's outputting some form of message. So let's go back to our Slack channel. As you can see, it says, hi there, great to hear from you. What can I help you with today? Now it's making a great mistake because it's appending automated with this end-to-end workflow, which I want to make sure that it doesn't show up when I am responding to my boss. So I'm going to untoggle that and I hit execute step again. And there you go. It doesn't have the attribution anymore, right? Good. So it sounds a little bit stuffy. I don't normally sound like this, of course, but we can work on that in the system prompt as well as just giving it some context if we're using a Pinecone or a super-based vector database. Now it's responding as myself, as you can see, which is great. So how does it look like for my boss? So for Jason T, this is what it's going to look like, right? It's getting a response from me, from Marc. And if it hits my profile, it actually says my profile right here with my email address and my credentials and information. So he doesn't know any better, right? Now, Jason probably wants to know what are the updates on the projects, right? So maybe Jason would say something like, hey, how is the Bloom and Co account doing, right? Let's say he wants to ask something like that, but before I hit send, go back to my workflow and I want to hit execute step so that it starts listening again, because this is not in production. Obviously, when I toggle it to production, it's just going to run all automatically, all right? I'm going to hit execute flow here. And now it's waiting and listening for a trigger event. So we're going to go back to my boss's page. I'm going to hit send on this one. So my boss, Jason's asking, hey, how is the Bloom and Co account doing? So going back to my Slack workflow, as you can see, the trigger is being received. The agent is thinking about it with GPT-5 agent, which takes a little while because GPT-5 tends to think about things a little bit longer, which is great in this case. And it's just sending the message, So I forgot to do something in the system prompt, which is to ask it to refer to Google Doc tools to attach for project updates. Okay, so I just want to make sure that it knows that. All right, so I'm going to hit save here. So let's rerun that again. So my boss is now asking me again, hey, how is the Bloom & Co account doing? So going back to my workflows, you can see the agent is getting the query and it's going into the get document from Google Docs. So it's referring to the project document and thinking a little bit before kicking it out to the Slack message. And now it's got all the information that's needed from the document, and then it's sending out the message onto the Slack direct message channel. So let's go back to my boss's page. Okay, now he's getting a response from me. It says, hey, good momentum, quick status on Bloom & Co. Instagram, TikTok are pacing well. Recent reels hit 125K in 2 weeks. The UGC push delivered 350 plus tag posts, giving a solid asset pool to repurpose. Next step in flight, expand influencer partnerships in micro creators, 5K to 15K followers. Let's see if this is actually accurate by going back to our document. So as you can see in the document, client Bloom & Co, it does say that we hit 125K within 2 weeks, 350 plus tag posts for user generated content. And next step is scaling influencer partnerships with micro creators. So it's accurately referencing the project document here and giving my boss a very accurate answer as to the project updates without me lifting a finger. Basically, it's doing my job for me and updating him. And it's even taking a step further by saying, if you're good with it, I'll send a short list of want me to pull today's dashboard for a fresh snapshot or reach engagement and share by noon. Okay, so I don't know about this. Of course, in order for it to do all of that, I need to attach a lot more tools into the AI agent for it to be able to automate all of that for me. And also for me to just make sure that my boss doesn't start being suspicious about how effective or how efficient and how productive I am suddenly, after I've implemented this workflow. So obviously, this is just a quick, easy demo of how to build a theoretical proof of concept to have an AI agent that does your job for you. And of course, if you're trying to build something more sophisticated, something with more context as to the languages that you use and the way that you communicate typically with team members and bosses and stuff like that, you might want to use vector database because it's going to store a lot more information there, as well as having the AI agent being able to go into the vector data store to get the most accurate information quickly. And so if you want to know how we built the Pinecone vector store and how to attach that to the AI agent so it could just run all seamlessly, I will also link a description to a video that I've made about that. Also, it's step-by-step. It's going to run you through the process. I'll link it up here and down in the description below. I'll also be sharing both of these templates down in the description for you to access, so you can just use it and start playing around with it. A quick disclaimer, I'm not encouraging anybody to replace their day job with AI. This is just a fun way of showing people how we can connect end-to-end to Slack messages, And of course, there's going to be a lot of edge cases where this is going to fail, and it's going to be very apparent that you're using a Slack AI agent to respond to people and it's not going to go well. So we're not there quite yet. Maybe in a couple more months we will be, but right now you may want to start thinking about how you can automate some parts of your job to make life easier for you. Let me know if you're facing any difficulties in any part of this build. And if you have any other interesting ideas, workflow for me to build, please let me know as well. And as always, if you like the content, please consider subscribing. I'll see you on the next one.